Welcome to a Tyreek Hill free Dolphins in depth discussion. This one focused on the NFL draft. I know you folks, it's 2 weeks away. The draft is sexy. It's where NFL teams have the opportunity to restock their shelves with younger and, more importantly, cheaper talent. Joining me right now to talk about the draft prospects are Emory Hunt. He is a football game plan and CBS Sports HQ analyst, college color analyst. He has produced one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite talent evaluators because the beauty about Emory is he doesn't go 200 or 300 deep. He goes 1,200 prospects deep with his draft guide, which you can find and order at footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. Obviously, Emory, we had you on last year, I believe, to talk after the draft about the talent that the Dolphins got. We probably want to offer you the invite as well. But this draft, I remember last year, we were talking about quarterbacks. And I believe we were having a Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders discussion. I didn't know at that time how good Cam Ward was until I actually saw him. And when I put my eyes on him and the outside throws, saw the moxie, saw the dog in him, and quarterbacks with the dog. Remember that, because I'm going to get to this question. I immediately knew he would be the number one overall pick. Let me ask you this question. Is he better than Shedeur Sanders in your mind? Because I know you had a high opinion of Shedeur.
I have Shedeur number one. I have Cam number two.
See, I knew I was right. Tell me why.
And here's the thing, because this is the trick that they're trying to do. They're trying to make it seem like you can't like both at the same time. Because I have both guys with high grades. So I like both. I tell people all the time when you used to ask me this during this process, like, well, which one would you take, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? I'm like, man, give me Shedeur Ward or Cam Sanders. They both are good, right? Because you can like Biggie and Pac at the same time. I just want to hear the music. You know what I'm saying? So both of these dudes can play. But the reason why I had Shedeur with a higher grade is because he was consistent in the situational football department from Jackson State to Colorado. And when I'm talking about situational football, I'm talking about red zone offense, backed up offense, third down offense, end of game situations, need to have it situations. How many times we tuned in to one of these 2 a.m. Colorado games and they're on the 1 yard line, got to go 99 yards to tie the game because the defense can't stop the other team from scoring, and they go down the field and get that touchdown to either tie it, push it to overtime. And we've seen Shedeur do this time and time again. In fact, the Baylor game, this man completed 2 Hail Marys in a row. The first one, the dude dropped. You know what I'm saying? Then they go back to it again to a shorter receiver, LeJontay Wester, and he catches the touchdown to put him in the overtime. So it's just those moments where you know he's ice cold, locked in, ready to go. Cam is awesome, too, in his own right, because I've seen him do it at Incarnate Word to Washington State and then Miami. So both guys, whoever takes both of those quarterbacks will raise the floor of their football team as rookies this season.
Let me ask you this question, following up on the Shedeur Sanders. And the reason that I do not have as high of an evaluation on him as I do have other quarterbacks, I've learned my lesson from not watching quarterbacks in person, okay? And I did have the benefit of watching him in person throw down here in Miami when Jackson State came down there. Now, obviously, this is very early in his career. But a quarterback's arm is a quarterback's arm. It's not going to significantly improve. You go to his pro day, and this is a conversation grown man gonna have. How do you not throw an out at a pro day? I get it. Pro day, you're trying to show your best. You're trying to hide your deficiencies. But if everybody in the league is talking about he has a baseline good enough NFL arm, and Tua is the same way, in the same category. In fact, they're probably the two quarterbacks that I compare to one another. Tua has just a baseline arm, but now you put him in situations where he's trailing by 8 minutes left. Teams know he has to throw. They're packing the middle and forcing him to throw outs, 10, 15-yard outs, and jumping on the routes. You're in trouble. Is there any level of concern that you have for Shedeur's arm, ability to go play in Buffalo, in Cleveland, in the Meadowlands,
in Colorado?
Colorado, the air's a little thinner now.
But the snow's up there. It's cold up there. Like, they played in Nebraska, too. Like, I mean, they played in the pack. Listen, they played in those Mountain West states. But I will say this. I'm glad you brought up that because when you think about Shedeur Sanders, and as someone that has watched him at Jackson State covering FCS football a lot, you could bring up the game in the rain against FAMU, his first game as a Jackson State Tiger. You also could bring up the North Carolina Central game in the Celebration Bowl. You could also bring up South Carolina State, the touchdown he had to throw to Travis Hunter in the back corner of the end zone on a takeoff route on 4th down. If they don't get that touchdown, they don't even go to overtime. You also think about the Soul Bowl versus Alcorn State when they were down at to come back and win. You also think about the game versus Southern where he had to throw deep down the field to a sideline route to get the game.
I'm not talking about deep.
No, but wait. You talk about coming back and when the game on the line. I'm setting this up. You talk about the out route against TCU that he had to hit the running back in the flat when they had to score to go win that ball game their first year in Colorado. You also bring up the game versus USC where he had to drive the ball through a needle in the back of the end zone where it got past the defensive player's hands into the throat of the wide receiver for a touchdown. You talk about the pass to Travis Hunter against North Dakota State, one where Travis Hunter made a fantastic catch. You think about the game. Listen, there's so many examples of actual football games that folks choose to ignore because they have a disdain for Deion and place it on Shedeur. Because here's the other thing. People talk about his arm and his not having the running skills, which they now care about now, but last year they didn't.
Last year we weren't running skills when Lamar Jackson was in the draft,
right? And last year was all about.
But Jackson Dart, we praise him and value him for his running skills.
There you go. And so you look at Shedeur, and what's fascinating is that 2016, Goff went number 1. 2018, Mayfield goes number 1. 2020, Burrow goes number 1. I mean, all those guys stylistically play like Shedeur and have the same. Baker may have the strongest of arms out of the 4, but they're right there in terms of like arm strength, right? And so I'm not worried about it because at the end of the day, it's about the anticipation and placement, which is where he excels. Absolutely. And that's why my comp for Shedeur was Joe Burrow, because a lot of the knocks you had about Burrow, people still knock Burrow about his arm. People still knock Burrow about him taking too many sacks. People still knock Burrow about not being the best athlete, even though he think he's the best athlete and try to move around and by the time ends up getting himself sacked and take a big loss. That's Shedeur Sanders. But what I like about the comp too is that we know when it's the game on the line, you can trust Burrow's going to get his team down in position to score. I trust Shedeur because I've seen it over 4 years at 2 different spots, him get that job done.
Yeah. And now finishing up the quarterback conversation, because I'm not one of those people who think that I could only talk about quarterback to drive the attention to the draft, because there's other positions that are important. But now I do want to bring up the dog. Okay. You know what the dog is. How often have you seen a quarterback coming out of the draft with a dog?
We've seen it. We've seen him. And it's funny when you see it, you know it. And I'm glad I'm the right person to talk to because I have this experience, right? Because going back to my draft rankings in 2012, people clowned me for having Russell Wilson with a first round grade and the number 3 quarterback in that class behind Luck and RG3. It was like, oh, no, listen, this man was one Hail Mary away from going to the national championship game at Wisconsin in his only year. Yes. I didn't care he was 5'10". I didn't care he was playing. I was all on Russell Wilson.
Because he had the dog.
Yep. Then you go to 2016. I told folks that Wentz wasn't that guy. Having covered FCS football, I was like, nah, Prescott's better. Goff is better than Wentz. And so look how that has played out. And then you go to 2017 when everybody was, and this is a documented thing for folks too. I said, if I was the Browns that had the 1st and 4th pick number 1, I'm taking Saquon because I know I can take the best quarterback at 4, Lamar Jackson, and I'm going to lead the league in rushing for a decade. They thought I was crazy. Everybody else was on Mr. Trubisky, and that was 18, I'm sorry. But 17, I had Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson as 1A, 1B. I had Watson 1A, Mahomes B, and everybody was like, there's no way it's Trubisky. Now, because the reason why I'm going this direction, and we talked about 2020 draft class, my number 2 quarterback that year was Jalen Hurts. All the reason why, the dog you talk about. When you look at how these guys play, because remember, when I brought up Shedeur, the first thing I brought up was situational football. I didn't even bring up none of the accuracy or placement or anything like that. Why? Because we know that's where games are won. And because you can have the best arm, you could be the fastest, but how you lock in when you can't make a mistake. Yeah, exactly. And so that's how I
Third
judge.
down, red zone, trailing,
Yep.
big.
Oh,
Can you
you're gonna
rally your
find a
team from
way.
behind?
You're gonna find a way to make a way, and that's where you got to look at how these quarterbacks play. And it's funny when you look at college quarterbacks because we know the hash marks are wider, so you could see the pressure coming. It's a lot easier to navigate that pressure. So we talk about Shador and we talk about Cam, how they handle pressure rather well. Go and look at Dart last 2 minutes versus Florida, and that tells you the difference between this man threw 3 picks in 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy how some can lock in and some can't. I always bring up the Nick Anderson example. Nick Anderson was a fantastic shooter, probably one of the best in that era of NBA basketball.
He didn't show up.
Make those free throws. He probably hits those free throws 1,000 times out of 1,000. But in that moment, he wasn't able to knock it down. Scott Norwood probably hits that field goal 75 times out of 80 or 75, right? But that one time in the Super Bowl, it veered off to the side and they miss it. So that's where you got to look at more in depthly about the quarterbacks, as opposed to some people get caught up on the physical stuff, which is fine. Some of that stuff matters, but game situations, man, don't blow it when we need you to lock in the most.
Definitely. I do want to. I'm not a skill position guy. I'm not. I really want to get to the 300 pounders because that's where the value of this draft is for me, especially from a Dolphins focus. But Ashton Jeanty, and I know you might have a controversial take on him. I don't know what it is, but I'm willing to hear your thoughts because I think I did not buy into the hype. Then I watched the film and I was like, oh, okay, I see it.
Well, let me ask you because I will tell you why I'm asking you this question, but let me ask you, when you initially saw him just in passing before you dove into the tape, why did you not like him?
Looks a little bit small. I heard the comparisons to some greats, and I'm very cautious about it. First tape I looked at was Boise versus Ohio State. I can't remember who. It was a big team, and he didn't show up. Georgia, I can't remember which team it was, and he didn't show up. And then I had to dig deeper. And then when I dug deeper, first game was against Oregon, and he didn't show up. No, he blew up against Oregon. I can't remember how it was. But then it was like one big game, he disappeared. I can't remember which opponent it was. It might have been Georgia. I've watched so much of that stuff. And then I dug deeper, and I think he had a big game against Oregon. I was just like, let me keep looking. And I looked, and then just the jump cut ability, the ability to hide behind his line, and then spring out there. Now, I can't guarantee you all my life that he's going to be the best back in this draft because there are some other backs, Henderson that I like, Hampton that I like, Judkins that I like. However, I have this very unpopular opinion. If he's there at 13, the Dolphins would be crazy to pass that up.
Well, here's my reasoning for asking you that question, because initially when I always bring this example up, it's the Emmitt Smith versus Barry Sanders debate. When you look at Barry Sanders, you're like, I see why Barry Sanders the dog. And you watch Emmitt Smith, you're like, I just don't get it. Like, how is he gaining all these yards? Like, he ain't got no moves. He not explosive. Like, what is it? But every time you look up at the end, he got 175 yards and, it's the offensive line. But then you watch him over time, you're like, man, he's just so consistent. Like, he breaks tackles. He doesn't, lose yards. And that's why I threw the Emmitt Smith cop out to Ashton Jeanty, partly because of when you watch Jeanty, you just like, yeah, he's breaking all of these tackles. But he's not making nobody miss. But he's breaking all these tackles. And that break tackle ability in and of itself is a testament to his core strength and his leverage and all that stuff. That's value, right? That's what you need, number one. He may not be the fastest. He's probably a 4.5 guy, which is pretty fast, but not the burner. And because you see him get caught from behind a lot, and you see him get, top out when he started running straight up, right? So you could tell his speed topped out. But in and of itself, he is a very good back because you have to be durable. It's almost like when you're watching Derrick Henry, like, if you just beat Derrick Henry to the spot, you could bring him down. Like, yeah, on paper, that sounds right.
Until he falls forward for 3 yards.
Exactly, right? So I get it. And so I get why people took a while to get on to Genty. And again, full disclosure, Genty, I have like a 80.5 grade.
Okay.
And my number 2, Hampton, I have an 80 grade. So I'm right there with you. While Genty may be my RB1, I'm not going to say that he is far and beyond the best back in the class, because Hampton, Henderson, are some really good backs that combine the speed part of it with a little bit more totality within their game. Like you talk about Henderson with his vision, his pass pro, his ability to catch the ball, his ability to hit the home run. That's a value in and of itself. Hampton does a lot of things Genty does, but in a bigger body, a faster body, and shown he could be durable as well. So it's a good class. We talked about this ad nauseum. This is a great class for a running back. It reminds me of the 2017 when you had McCaffrey, Fournette, Tariq Cohen, Aaron Jones, Delvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, Jamal Williams. All these cats was in that class, right? This is just like this. So if you need a back, whether it's at pick 13 or in another round, it's a good one. Good one to have.
Give me your back that you're targeting on round 5.
In round 5, let's say for the Dolphins. Listen, I've been on this guy for, again, covering a lot of FCS football. I've seen a lot of Land Larison out of UC Davis. When I say he is, and not because he's white, but because he plays like Christian McCaffrey, 5'11", about 210, great receiver. And here's the thing: this year he almost hit 1,000. He had over 1,400 yards rushing and 890 or 860 some yards receiving. So he was putting in work. And the only reason why we didn't see him in a postseason All-Star game was he got injured in the playoffs for UC Davis, a little banged up, and so he wasn't able to get through the whole process or whatnot. But this dude, Omar, I'm telling you, like a fantastic tailback. He looked like he gliding out there. And so he's going to get on the team, and he's going to perform extremely well. Don't let him get to San Francisco. Don't let him get to Sean Payton. Don't let him get to Kellen Moore, someone that really understands how to get these backs involved in a passing game and also involved in that outside zone game. But he will fit in perfectly with Miami.
Okay. I'm done with skill position. I don't even want to give you my controversial take on Tyler Warren. I want to stay out. I want to stay out of that. I need to get to these trench players, these 300-pounders. How you rank your offensive linemen? Because I see so many different variations based on whatever your flavor is. Give me your offensive line for outside zone schemes.
It's a great question because a lot of it differs per team, right? So guard play is huge, in my opinion, in this outside zone scheme. So the guards that I think would be great for Miami, Marcus Embo out of Purdue, because he has the footwork. He's played tackle, he can play guard. So you like the movement ability, number one, going east and west. He is someone that's going to be phenomenal as a pro. Gray Zabel, North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Played multiple spots. And
I've heard his name in the first round. I've heard his name as high as 13 this week. And I was like, oh, I gotta look a little deeper.
I'll tell you this, and this would impress me the most about him. And there's another one too I'll bring up. But for Zabel is the fact that they played a 16-game season. They got to the national championship game. And, we've seen guys from Ohio State or other big Power 5 programs sit out the All-Star game. So he just came off a 16-game season, went to the Senior Bowl, and played the entire week and in the game, and dominated the week. So he had every right to say, you know what, I got to give my body a rest. No, he went out there and competed and played really well and dominated. So he checked those boxes. You go and watch the game against Colorado in the first part of the season, he dominated there. Then you go and watch him during the Senior Bowl, dominated. Marcus Ware of Montana State, same situation, can play guard or center. And he was out there because they played North Dakota State in a national championship game, 16-game season. He played really well in their opener in week 0 against New Mexico. And then he goes to the East-West Shrine Bowl and dominates there too. So that's what you want to see. How well do they play FBS opponents? And then how well do they stack up against their peers at an all-star game setting? And then the last guy I'll bring up is Donovan Jackson of Ohio State. And the reason why I bring him up, he was an outstanding guard. And then they had injuries. So we got to throw him at tackle. Man, you putting your guard at left tackle? Yeesh, I don't know if that's going to be an issue. But in the playoffs, he played his best 4 games at left tackle. So now that gives you that flexibility and versatility for game day purposes. Like, man, if we get in a pinch, we could throw him out there at tackle and he'll survive. Some teams even view him as a tackle only, but because he's a natural guard in the outside zone scheme, you trust their footwork, their ability to get lateral, the ability to reach block. All of those things work well for those guys that I just mentioned.
Let me ask you your opinion on Tyler Booker. How do you view him? I know he's not exactly a great fit for a zone scheme, but an Alabama offensive lineman, unfortunately, have not done very well in the NFL. How do you view him as an NFL prospect?
He's my number 1 guard. And I didn't bring him up because of what you talked about, how people view the fit for the outside zone. But, man, you talk about someone that vacates space, like, get him up out the way. Like, he moves. There was one play in particular, man. He took a deep tackle, moving from a 3-tech to a outside corner. Like, bro, like, he got you up out the way. Like, you're able to do that. Like, that's the kind of guy you want to block. We'll figure out the scheme. But yeah, that's my number 1 guard because of how dominant he is
in the trenches. What bothers me about him is when you look at the measurables, and I'm not a big measurables guy, but I do want to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. And the measurables just don't measure up to what the film is doing. And I'm thinking to myself, how could that be? How could you only be bench pressing 21 pounds when you could so easily move a 300-pounder? Like,
some guys in that weight room just it never makes sense. I'd rather you look at it that way as opposed to being, king of the weight room and go out here and get blown up.
Membu. How you feel about Armand Membu? I know he's probably going to be the top rated offensive lineman, but that
not for me. But and I'm glad you brought him up because everyone talks about the length in the arms. But here's the thing: you're a boxing guy, so I always use the Mike Tyson, comparison where Tyson was outreached by virtually everybody he fought.
But that hook,
and he got up underneath you and got on you first. So if you got long arms and you're late to get him on the defender, it negates your long arms. You know what I'm saying? He has to be quicker. And a lot of times he gets, too patient to where guys get in his body and now they are able to walk him back a little bit. Good talent, good athlete. He just has to be a little bit more quicker in this process.
Would you, looking at his off the charts metrics, would you justify him being the top offensive lineman on the board? I mean, off the board?
No. Because at some point we got to keep the football to football. You know what I mean? Like, at some point it's just, can you block? Can you tackle? How often are you hitting your great? Because as the less projection I have about a prospect, the better I feel about him being able to get in there.
A safe pick.
Exactly.
That you know what? And breaking it down with you, that's why Tyler Booker, I know he is not going to be a good fit for the Miami Dolphins. They need your guards to turn the corner and reach and get to that second level. And that's cute and good. But for the last 3 years, you've been the worst team when it comes to converting short yardage plays because you got absolutely nobody to move anybody on that offensive line. You might as well be running outside zone on 3rd and 1.
Right.
That's just how you are operating. And I think there has to be a blend of having somebody. What I love about Tyler Booker, and I want to shift the conversation because I know he's not going to be Miami's pick, but I know he's going to end up in Baltimore and be an all-pro player. He grab you. You're a 330-pound man. He gonna move you. You out the picture.
Yep.
And a back can just run right up in there. And there's got to be value in that. But I get it. If the metrics were measured up, I would be banging the table. But
I will say, not to cut you off, I will say this though: if you're looking for scheme fit, get a better scheme. Get great players. And let that be the scheme. Like, it's easy to call plays, figure it out, man. Like, don't be so married to scheme.
These Shanahan boys, they scheme. They about that scheme now. I mean, and it's a beautiful scheme. I will acknowledge. I've always been a big fan of the outside zone running scheme. I mean, I'm going back to not John Elway, but Jake Plummer. That was my offense. That was the offense I played in Madden because I loved it. But I get it. Everybody doesn't fit in that scheme. But don't come here in year 4 and still be the worst team in short yardage conversion and say, "Oh, I don't know why we can't convert these short yardage plays." Like it's the scheme.
Here's the thing, and listen, and this is the difference between the Shanahans, the OG Shanahan, and the new iterations of it, right? You can't just turn on physicality on 4th and 1 or short yardage or game day. That's a mindset. Like if you're practicing finesse ball and say, okay, we're gonna be physical today. Like, no, you're not. That's not how you were built. You know what I'm saying? Physicality start in January when y'all working out and when y'all getting ready for the season and all that. That's when physicality starts. You can't just turn it on game day.
You gotta give them off season. You gotta give them off season. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you cannot build a finesse team on speed and then all of a sudden say, "Oh, we're gonna be physical right now. We're gonna flip a switch."
That ain't what happens.
It does not work that way, and I do believe that that's one of the bigger issues with the Miami Dolphins. Now I want to get you to the other side of the 300-pounders, the fat boys, which is where I believe football games are won and lost in the trenches. I don't need you to weigh in on that because that is a belief and an opinion that I hold dear to my heart. And history has proven me right. Where would you stack up these defensive tackles? And I especially want to get your opinion on Mason Graham because I am personally not as high on Mason Graham as a lot of analysts are. I think he's going to be a good NFL prospect. Do I see top 5, top 10 player? Not necessarily.
Well, here's the thing. He's one of those guys that we just kind of talked about with Tyler Booker. Every time you watch a Michigan game, he's making big plays, regardless of his size, arm length, whatever technique you think he fits in. He can play multiple techniques. But he's someone that gets the job done, and that's value because he shows up. So he's my number 1 defensive tackle. I love his game because he makes plays. At some point, we got to just get back to the football part of it. But I also throw out some other guys too, based on Miami's need for the defensive line, not necessarily edge rush. They're good there. But when you talk about, and it's funny because we started this conversation with Shedeur. So people that love to knock Shedeur probably only watched 2 games of Shedeur Sanders. Probably watched Nebraska, and they probably watched BYU. I'm saying that to say this. If you watch the Nebraska game, you're probably very familiar with Ty Robinson of Nebraska number 9. This dude, maybe it's because he wore a single digit, that instantly going to get you to stand out on a defensive line, but he was dominant, bro. Like, talk about a guy that has terrific athleticism, functional athleticism, and works his way, able to play the run on the way to the quarterback, and would be an ideal 5 technique in the defense, right? Because he's so dominant, he's so quick off the ball, he doesn't like being blocked, so he's going to always find a way and have success. The other guy, if you watch the BYU game versus Colorado, you got very familiar with Tyler Beatty, who is your standard like speed to power guy. He's going to walk you back into the pocket. He's going to be a constant power rusher that can set a physical edge, does a great job disengaging, going find the football. So those, you probably could get both guys and set your defensive line up perfectly because those guys can not only play the run, they can anchor down, hold the line of scrimmage, but also get pressure by being a one-gap penetrator on the interior.
Let me get you on one more topic regarding Mason Graham. You don't think he ate off the table that Kenneth Grant set for him?
What's wrong with that? At the end of the day,
I'm just asking a question.
No, I'm saying I'm saying because people will say, well, he's only good because of this. They use that for quarterbacks or the running back is only good because of the offensive line. Quarterback is only good because he got good receivers. Well, it's the NFL. You kind of want to have good players next to good players, right? So I don't have a problem. You better eat if you got this dude occupying space next to you, because if not, you ain't doing your job, right? So I don't have a problem with it. But that's a good question to ask because I feel like it's one of those football myths that we throw out there. It's like, man, he's only good because he's playing next to this guy. Well, his ass better be good because at the end of the day, if you're not.
But what suppose he got all of the attention that Kenneth Grant got?
Well, here's the thing. Grant is doing what he's required within that defense. He's very good. And it's a reverse question about, well, why isn't Shamar Stewart good? in terms of sack numbers, well, he's being asked to play this way in this defense. But you can see when they turn him loose, or at the Senior Bowl when he was able to just go and get it, he was able to go and get it. So you look at that like, okay, he's playing within the scheme. And in Michigan, they are playing, hey, we got a guy that could beat one-on-one. We got a guy that can occupy a double team or occupy blockers. Hey, man, your job is to consistently beat one-on-one. And he went out there and consistently beat one-on-one.
Let me ask you this question from a Miami Dolphins perspective. 13 is there. Let's say they go offensive line at 13. Let's say they take Gray's able.
Okay.
Because I've heard that, and I'm like, I can't rule it out because it's a perfect fit. He'd probably be selected higher than a lot of people have even evaluated, but who cares if you get the right fit for your scheme?
Bingo.
What offensive lineman are you going round two? I mean, what defensive lineman are you going round two?
I gave it a 2 ones. I'm very, very high on, man. Listen, Ty Robinson, and this is just not about the Colorado game, but he was constantly showed up on film.
You say round two?
Listen, I probably look at things differently than most. Give me those guys that can help my team today. Like, because when it's out there in his week 6 and Ty Robinson got like 3 sacks, you think the people in the stand saying like, man, he's good. But if we would have just taken him in round 3, like, no, nobody cares. Like, as long as he out there balling.
I agree with you. Find your guys and take your guys.
Get your guys, because you are
don't sit there and say, man, they just beat us to that guy. We were waiting for him in round 4. Like there's a Jimmy Graham fable where the Dolphins under Bill Parcells, they planned to take Jimmy Graham in round 4. They were like, we gonna get us a nice tight end. And New Orleans, Sean Payton, Bill Parcells' protege, said, nah, let me get that in round 3.
Think about this, like, Omar, if we out in the park and we picking teams on basketball, and what's the mindset? I'm gonna get the tallest MF out there first, right? I'm not going to wait.
Hold on, I might want that guy with that that can get them buckets. Though. Hold on, wait a minute.
If you see a shooter or if you see the tallest guy, it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna wait till my 3rd pick to get the tall guy. Boy, you better grab that tall dude first. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we work our way down. Like,
we can figure it out.
Right? Football the same way, man. Like NFL football, I think a lot of teams get rabbit ears. Like, well, the perception is we may have research. Bro, if he can help your team, get the dude that's best for your team. It's no different than picking dudes at the park.
No doubt about it. We are definitely having a great conversation. I appreciate you for always joining me during the draft talk. You're talking to Emory Hunt, football game plan and CBS Sports HQ analyst. He's a college football commentator. You can find his draft guide at footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. 12,000 prospects evaluated, scouting report. He's watched them with his own eyes, which is an important thing to do. Let me get your viewpoint on cornerbacks, because that's obviously another position of need. One, you got Shador rated a cornerback or wide receiver?
Oh, Travis Hunter?
Travis Hunter, yeah.
I got him as both. He is my number 1 flanker or Z receiver, and he's my number 1 field corner. I know in the NFL there's no field or boundary corner, outside, inside, but from my mindset, I can envision a field corner is your best athlete. Your boundary corner is probably the guy that you could lock up on your ex receiver and have him just lock out all day without a lot of safety help. The reason why I have Travis Hunter ranked high like that, one, because of the ball skills and football awareness and instincts. And Travis Hunter, to me, if he's on defense and you're a quarterback, why are you throwing his way? You're literally throwing to a wide receiver. Like, he's going to run the route for your guy and catch it. You know what I'm saying? And on offense, he's probably your number 3, a guy you can put on the move, and he doesn't need volume to be successful.
Slot?
He's a slot guy, or a guy
he's a slot?
He's a Z or a slot. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's probably already better than the 3rd corner that's covering him. So it's a matchup problem. So I would say get him and put him on both sides of the ball, but he's going to be way gone for 13. But that's my thought.
Yeah. Will Johnson. That film, even though it's only 6 games, that film is pretty damn good. I know there are concerns right now about his speed and how fast he is and the injury history. And the injury history might actually have him falling, because you know how these teams are when it comes to the medical and, we don't have a time on him. And then when he runs, is he going to run a 4.5, high 4.5? You know how these teams are. Right. He's there at 13. You doing what?
I'm taking him. And that was one guy I had I did a mock draft on CBS Sports Network. a first round mock, and I had Will Johnson going to the Miami Dolphins and my point was, at some point, people got to realize how good this dude is. I think he's gotten forgotten about because he only played 6 games this year and had the injuries. But every time I look up, he got the ball in his hands and he plays defense. Like, that's kind of the guy you want. You know what I'm saying? And what I love about his game mostly is that he can play off or he can play press. But playing off, he has great plant and accelerate, drive on the ball ability.
T-step.
It was don't even start. Like, like don't even start. He a click and close guy. He a click and close guy, not a T-step guy. But
hey, Asante has an argument, okay? He is not in the conversation, but he was one of the better zone cornerbacks that the NFL has ever seen. He does not get the respect he deserves.
I agree.
If you tell me there's a zone cornerback in this draft that's like Asante Samuels, I'm gonna say sign me up right now.
Right, because that's the type of guy that you are afraid to throw to because it looks open and he is able to drive. However he gets there, T-step or not, he is able to drive and go get that damn ball, and that's what you want. Will Johnson does that, not to the level of Asante Samuel, but he does that plant and drive and accelerate in a bigger body and does a great job in challenging the ball. So listen, in playing in Wink Martindale's scheme, if Wink Martindale speaks highly of you as a corner, because he loves to leave those guys out there on the island, and he trusts you out there, Will Johnson is a good
one. How do you feel about Jahdae Barron?
He's another one, and I like his ability when the ball is approaching, so he can, like, he may give up some ground, but he has his knack for accelerating and closing on the ball, and he's active around the ball. So he's going to try to play through the hands. He's going to go around it with the offhand or go inside the receiver's hands and knock it. Like, that activity around the ball is ideally what you want. Just stay in the fight, man. And he does a great job of doing that. You saw that against Clemson when he was playing through the receiver. The receiver thought he had him beat on a slant or whatever. He's able to play through the hands. Arizona State doing the same thing. So Barron is someone that I really like his technical skills at the position.
Do you think that he would be a good pick at 13? Obviously, what's based on the board is because there's the age issue. Would you take that? Would you pull the trigger at 13?
I would. If corner was, here's how I'm thinking about it. If I'm the GM for Miami, right? If the cornerback grade that we have on this player usurps the grade that we have on, let's say, the Gray Zabel, right? Or, we didn't bring D-line, I don't have a higher grade. But let's say if we have Gray Zabel and Jahdae Barron, right? And we look at what we need most. Well, if we need the guard most, but Barron's grade is a little bit higher, I'm still going to take this guy. Now, if we feel cornerback is where we need help the most, and Zabel's grade is higher, I'm still taking Barron. So people gotta get away from thinking that, take best player available. Nah. It's all about best player available at your biggest position of need.
Not just that, but also the depth of this draft. And I would make the argument to you that I don't know if the offensive line is as deep as people say that it is.
And that's a great counterpoint, because that's the other facet of it. Because, okay, if our grade on Gray Zabel as our guard 1 is that much better than our guard 2, then we got to take the guard 1. But if Gray Zabel, like I talked about Genty and Hampton, then, okay, I'm not going to take Genty. I'll get Hampton because there's not that much of a difference. But to your point, if Zabel is your guard 1, his grade is like a 90, and your guard 2 is like a 78, solid player, but that's a 12-point difference. Like, go get the guard 1, or if your guard 2 is 78 and Jahdae Barron is 83, then Jahdae Barron, if you don't want to go guard, get Jahdae Barron before you, and then try to work yourself around guard 2. So there's ways to look at it, but it has to be how your board stacks up to your point, to the position, and how great is one, or great the difference is between 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah. What are your sleepers cornerbacks in this draft? Who are some of these guys that you like that can? I'm gonna give you a baseline. I need him to be a starter by mid-season.
Oh wow, damn!
That's not a development player.
Not a development player.
Okay, I need him to be a starter by mid-season.
All right, because if you said development player, I was gonna give you James Burgess of Alabama State, 6'2", good ball skills, good athleticism. That secondary at Alabama State, insane. Quincy Riley was is the guy I would say that fits your MO out of Louisville. Straight dog. And people forget Raleigh was someone, he was banged up this year, so that's why he didn't have all the fanfare. He's a good man corner, good ball skills, well coached out there at Louisville, and he had a really good Senior Bowl. But Quincy Riley, I think a lot of people are not talking enough about. That could be someone you get on day 2, but could end up be a starter by midseason.
Okay. And final position group, safety, because I'll tell you my full transparency. I begin this process starting to look at prospects that people are projected for the Dolphins, and I started with Malachi Starks.
Okay.
And I was like, not for me. I didn't see it. 13. I didn't see the production. I didn't see the playmaking. Everybody who told me to go back at it, all they had was excuses. Then kept telling me go back to 2023 film. I ain't trying to live in 2023 and 2025. What is your take on Malachi Starks?
Starks is a good player because he's versatile. I think Starks can play in the slot, in terms of like cover some athletic tight ends. He's able to click and close, like we talk about. He could trigger down really well. He's got the twitchiness that you like. I'm a big Andrew Makuba guy too, out of Texas. Another one of these versatile guys that you can say, hey, we need you to cover this big receiver in the slot. He can do that. He's another one that has very good awareness. And that's the other element of this whole thing that people forget about. Billy Bowman is another one of my favorites too, out of Oklahoma.
I've been hearing a lot about him lately.
Good, like very smart football player, like football IQ off the ball.
Gets a lot of the ball. And that's what I want. I want a safety that can get the ball. I mean,
that's it. It's all about, can you score? Can you take the ball away? Period. Like, that's the game itself. Outside of being one in the trenches, outside of the trenches, can you score? Can you take the ball away? And those guys do that.
I really don't understand this obsession about safeties that can play the slot. Yes, I know you got to cover the cornerback. Yes, I know sometimes you got to pick up the slot receiver. But how often are we really asking them to do that?
Right. And it's mostly about the run defense when they talk about playing the slot. And not every team has the athletic tight end that you worry about. So, you do need a guy that can help trigger down and keep you, straight versus the run. But the rare occasion you have to run up against a Kelsey or a Isaiah Likely, someone that you got to match up against, you kind of need a safety that can do that.
Yeah. Final question on your way out of here, Emory. I want you to give me one bold prediction that you're making about the 2025 NFL draft. We will look back 3 years from now and say, damn, Emory knew that. What is it?
That there are 4 quarterbacks in this class that'll be solid starters.
Cam, Shador,
Jalen Milroe.
You're not gonna say Milroe.
Jalen, I'll say you on Milroe. Here's why, and here's why.
You gonna say Milroe?
Yep, I'm gonna say Milroe. And here's why Milroe. One, as a college football Hall of Fame voter, I don't know if you remember. You remember the National Football Foundation? Okay, so I remember National Football Foundation. I vote in College Football Hall of Fame, which means I'm also going to the William V. Campbell Awards banquets, the academic Heisman. So full picture of what that means, right? This was like the 2016 year, and I was interviewing a running back at Carnegie Mellon. His name is Sam Benger, was a phenomenal tailback. So he was a semifinalist for the award, and I'm interviewing him. He loved what I was doing. He's like, man, I like the fact that you interviewing, and I like that part. Like, bro, you got a 4.5 in molecular biology. You're gonna be great in life, dog. Don't worry about being an analyst or being a reporter, right? Like, but it's those type of GPAs and those type of majors those guys have to be in consideration, which is why you see schools go crazy when they have these semifinalists. So the fact that this dude actually won the award, Milroe, for the academic Heisman, then being a starting quarterback, excelling at Alabama at a Power 5 program, all that pressure, it tells you he's able to lock in and focus and keep the main thing the main thing.
But did he really excel, though?
He did. And he also wants to think about the first time you saw Milroe in 2022. It looked like he was going to make it through the season. He was like, man, this is rough. Then in 2023, they have the quarterback competition. They bench him for South Florida. They almost lose to South Florida. Then they go back to Milroe, and they go on this crazy run where they are like, yo, we can't win without him. He had the Hail Mary throw on 4th and forever against Auburn. The dime, not even a Hail Mary, hit Isaiah Bond perfectly in the back corner of the end zone.
How do you explain his Senior Bowl struggle?
Oh, no. Here's the thing. Because it's all about the process. He's working to get better. same amount of touchdowns he had in 2023 that he had in 2024, but no one brings up how he's working through a new offense. Half those turnovers are him just a bad play. Other half just, hey, maybe we're not on the same page, right? Then you go to the Senior Bowl. Specifically, you could see him working on the short game, the footwork, and trying to marry that with dropping back, setting up, getting the ball out. Because one thing that he doesn't get credit for is how, and this was even in 2023, his consistently deep ball accuracy was on point. So it's a short area game that he has to work on. And because he is a smart kid, military kid, disciplined, and showed you he got better from 2022 to 2024, he's working. He understands where he has it. So that's a guy you kind of want to gamble on. But the fourth guy, no one's talking about this dude.
Hold on, so Dart wasn't on the list?
No.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Brady Cook out of Missouri. Here's the thing about Brady Cook. People sleep on his athleticism. He ran, 4.6? He had the best throwing session at the combine, in my opinion. And he is tough as nails. Think about this. We saw Brady Cook get carted off the field against Auburn, go to the hospital, come run out the hospital full pass like Tecmo Bowl, got back in the game, and led them down the field for the winning score. Then you saw the game against South Carolina, which looked to be the game-winning touchdown in a clutch situation to Luther Burden, but then their defense gave up the big play, and then they end up losing that game. But Brady Cook, if you look at his numbers and you look at how better he had gotten each and every year, and then the first time I saw Brady Cook was his freshman year. He came in for an injured Connor Baselick and had to start the game against Arkansas, and Arkansas was a good team at the time with KJ Jefferson, and they couldn't stop Brady Cook's running ability, and he kept on every third down. He scrambled for a first down. And so you look at how well he throws the football, battle tested, and he reminds me a lot of Andy Dalton when he was at TCU. Remember they went on that run where they went to the Rose Bowl?
Yes.
Getting somebody that got that grit. I see Brady Cook being that guy.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at it. I will definitely take a look at it. Dart, no Dart. I like the skills. I like the ability.
3 picks in 2 minutes in a game that needed to win to go to the postseason. That's epic collapse.
Hey.
And then if you watch that Georgia game, the first drive, it's like, bro. And then his backup came in and marched him right down the field. And whatever happened on the sideline, Dart's like, all right, I'm not about to get Wally pipped. He got back in the game and played great. But you wish he could bottle up that portion of the Georgia game and play like that all season.
He is definitely a quarterback that needs some development. I'm still the same way. I don't know how I feel about Milroe. I did not know he's as intelligent as you cite him to be. Maybe I'll take a deeper look at it, because I looked at it on multiple levels and was like, I don't see it. But we got to get back to when we develop quarterback. People forget people forget that Lamar did not come out the womb starting. Jalen did not come out the womb starting. Mr. Kansas City, he sat his whole rookie year.
I'll say this to your point. Look at Tua's backup right now. Look how much better he looked in Denver, juxtaposed to what we remember from him in New York.
Yeah. You can as I say, you put them in the microwave and then you wonder why the meal don't taste that good. Right. Or you wanted it quick. We could have put it in the slow cooker.
Right.
You supposed to put it in the microwave.
Well, my meat all tough, man. Like, yeah, you're supposed to put that in the slow cooker. Like, let that thing marinate.
Let that thing marinate. Let it simmer for like 6 hours. But they don't do they don't cook quarterbacks like they used to anymore. But I appreciate it, Emory. Again, if you want Emory's draft guide, you can footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. How much you charge, Emory?
$25, man. It's a cup of coffee nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
Cup of coffee. And what I love about it is you can go in and you can look at when your team signs an undrafted player, that you can get a thorough, accurate breakdown. I definitely will be doing that. Emory, I appreciate your time. I'm going to extend the invite after the draft.
Say less. I'm here. Say less. Yes. We family. I'm here.
We'll break it down. Thank you again, and congratulations on when we can get the next mock draft.
Oh man, I did the small school mock draft only on CBSSports.com. That's up now. I'll have a full official mock draft next week, so you'll see it next week on CBS. Well, I'll say next Thursday.
You put trades in that thing or not?
No, I don't do trades, man. I straight up like I'm straight shooting from. I'm pulling up from half court if I have to. I'm pulling up in the paint. I'm not putting no trades, no stipulate. No,
that's a lazy way to do it, man.
Yeah, just pick. You're on the clock. Pick.
Yeah. All right. We appreciate your time. Thank you again. You watching Dolphins in Depth.